Yo, what's poppin'? Today we have the APAC previews and a new microphone. And APAC will be on in 10 hours. I'm doing the previews now. I want to do it earlier, but the mic didn't come in, and I want to do it with this mic. So here we are. APAC previews. I'm going to go through each team, all seven. I'm going to talk about their additions, their deductions, their coaching changes, and my concerns for them, my strengths for them, and their schedule, and also talk about if I think they'll be better or not than last season. Um, so yeah, this should be like a rundown of what you maybe expect, what I expect, the changes they've made, and just like a recap, basically, of the offseason and into a prediction maybe. So starting with alphabetical order, Chengdu first. Last season, Chengdu finished second at 11-5 with a plus 16 and 15 points from the tournaments. Right, I believe they're the only team. Yeah, only Shanghai and Chengdu actually have extra points from the tournaments. So everyone else does not. So Chengdu roster, we have Jinmu and Leave as your only DPS, and we have Nisha Monk as your backline, and Gaga and Daisy as your tanks. Daisy, the only new addition, he is Team Tracer's former off tank, and Team Tracer being Chengdu's farm team, or their like contenders team, and you end up with a lot of drops from Chengdu. They end up dropping Eveltal, Farway 1987, who is now with the Charge, Taru Cookie, and Jimmy, who are both on Team Chaser, as Wikipedia has told me. Uh, Chengdu was supposed to have Aprita and Farway and Eveltal signed, and Aprita being one of like contenders' most highly prospected players. A lot of hype going into this season. I don't know exactly why they got dropped. I forget. I think the reasons out there might have been money, it might have been contract finalization, something like that. But in the end, they only have Daisy. They picked him up uh, on the 30th of April, so kind of late. And so yeah, one change, and they keep all the core pieces, but they only have the two DPS, which I will talk about in a bit. Now coaching changes. Rui is no longer the coach, but Yauxi has been promoted internally. He was the assistant coach last year. He's now the head coach. It seems as though they have no other coaches with him. It's not great. I feel like you want an assistant or two, but I'm not too worried about coaching. Actually, being promoted from the inside helps because I don't think it'll be as good as Rui, probably, but I can't see it being like hurtful. I can't see it harming Chengdu. I don't think the coaching will make them lose. So it's if Rui's going to leave, this is probably the best thing you can do. So my concerns for this team: if ball is not meta and they don't play ball anyway, what are they doing? Chengdu has been the ball team, right? They've been playing him since day one. That's their whole identity so far, and pretty much the entirety of the Overwatch League. So if they don't play ball, I think that means he's in a really bad state in Overwatch 2. And something's probably up. I'm not sure what they do if they don't play ball. Maybe, I mean, Daisy is known for Zarya, I believe. So maybe they're running the Zarya comp that I talked about in my video earlier today about how APAC's supposed to be running Zarya according to Hanbin and some other guys. So maybe they're one of those teams. I can see it. Jinmu Reaper comes out. Leave on Soldier probably. It doesn't. It's not a bad look for this team at all, but it'll be sad if they don't play ball. I think you want them to play ball. Um, Moving on to Jinmu. Jinmu being in full time, not great. This means that unless there's like a double flex support, double flex DPS rather, Leave is basically not on Tracer because he's your hit scan player now, like fully. So if you have an Ashe Tracer meta or something, then Leave is stuck on Ashe and you're playing Jinmu on Tracer. Jinmu has a good Tracer, I believe, or an alright one at least. Definitely playable, but kind of don't want Leave to be your hit scan in my opinion. You want him to be as flexible as you can when you have a player like him. And like confining his hero pool based on what the other person can play, I don't love it for Chengdu. So there's some questions there. Um, and that's the only real concerns I have. Uh, Assuming that the coaching's good, holds up, I don't see any other problems other than ball question mark and Jinmu question mark. Because his backline's solid. We've seen it last year. Gaga is great on ball. His tanks are probably okay, but I don't know how he matches up against like your Fates and your uh, Gushways and stuff like that. But you can't. You got to stick with Gaga, and we'll see what happens with Chengdu. Do I think they'll do better than 5-11 with 15 points? No, I can't see them doing that well this season. I'm going to be honest. Just the blow of losing Rui and the blow of losing uh, another DPS kind of hurts them. I think coaching will probably be pretty important as this beta is going to fluctuate a lot throughout the season. So we'll see. But I suspect they will not be second. Maybe. Moving on to Guangzhou Charge, who finished 7th out of 8th. Only 7 teams this season. 7th out of 8th. 5-11. -18 map differential last season. So what have we got on Charge? Well, for DPS, we have Eileen, Choice A1, and the new develop. And on supports, we have Unique, Molly, and Faraway, all of whom are new. And then Rio Krong returning from last season. So, yeah, the only additions being Develop, Unique, Molly, Faraway. Good additions. They end up losing Mandu, Kariv, Mike Lee, and Jihoon. Kariv finds work in Florida, I guess. That's good for him. But I don't think he's played yet. No, it's just been Sermajed the whole time. But it's always good to have another flex. So Molly Fairway, significant upgrade to Kariv and IMO, and Unique's a pretty good upgrade to Mandu. Develop comes from Shanghai. He was riding the bench. Unique was on tier 1, or not tier 1, Talon T1. T1. I'll just say T1. Main support. And then Molly was also on Shanghai bench. And then Faraway was splitting time with Monk, but Monk was getting more playtime on Chengdu. So some good names for sure. Being benched on Shanghai is not like frowned upon. That does not hurt your career. That is the best team. So just being on that team helps you even if you were benched, right? So some good additions. Really enjoy those. Develop. Very big fan of Develop playing the hit scan here. I can see him playing. See him playing for sure. You have Eileen, but Eileen's more flex. So he's like flex, but he like breaks out the widow. So I don't know. Eileen's weird. Let him do his thing. Let him cook. So what do we have for the coaching staff? You just have one addition, which is Youngjin, who is an assistant coach, who was last doing anything with Overwatch according to Wikipedia for the 2019 Shanghai Dragons when he played. I don't know how he found his way here, but Youngjin is here. And yeah, if that's why you thought that name was familiar, you're thinking back to 2019 Shanghai. So my only concerns for this team is Rio and Krong. Krong is very good on Sigma, but outside of that, I think he's pretty mid as far as off tanks go in this region. And Sigma's only good on Circuit Royale. And Rio's good on Winston. I don't really have a problem with Rio, but it's just like the star power. I don't see it there compared to some of these other teams, to be honest. Mm, I don't know. Is changing out your backline and adding develop enough to make you better than 5-11 from last season? Maybe. The DPS definitely helps. Uh Maybe it does. I think they'll be better. I don't think they can be worse, but I'm not seeing like a top tier APAC team out of this right now. However, your strengths are Molly and Farway, way better than Kariv IMO. I see great things from them. You have a very capable DPS line for sure, and can see these guys being one of the teams opting on Zarya comp as well. but we'll see. I don't know. I could see every APAC team running it, except for like Seoul, maybe. They still might. So I'll get to them later. But uh, for the schedule this weekend, they are one of the teams playing 3 times. A team like Chengdu only plays twice, but Charge play Valiant, Chengdu, and Spark. I don't I don't remember if I actually talked about who Chengdu was playing, but Chengdu are playing the Charge of Philly. So there's that. But yeah, so that's it for Charge. I think they'll do better than 5-11. I believe I'm gonna go with that. And yeah, we'll move on to the Hangzhou Spark, my favorite team out of this region. Uh, so they 7-9 last season, right mid, straight mid with a +1 map differential. So they are about as mid as you can get. And what do we have for this roster? We have Architect, Shy, Pineapple, and Alpha Yi on DPS, and Irony Super Rich on support, and Gushue, Ligue, and Bernard as your tanks. Ligue on 2-way contract with Billy Gaming, apparently. Sure. So what does this add? Well, you add Alpha Yi, who was Billy's hit scan, and Billy being Sparks Contenders team. You add Alpha Yi, who was Billy's flex DPS. You add Super Rich, who was Team CC's main support, and you add Irony, who was Billy's flex support. So they're promoting them from their farm team. They're developing them as they go, that's how you should be doing it. I think they're doing it very well. Billy, very good in Chinese contenders. Right there with Chaser, right? So this is a pretty big boon, I would say. Getting DPS that aren't Sumin Su and Architect with Shy is huge. It's massive. Cannot be understated how big it is that teams will have a different DPS to focus on other than Shy that can actually do work. Because Pineapple and Alpha U can definitely break through as Rookie of the Year candidates for sure, right? So what does this team lose? You lose MCD to Boston, who was allegedly racist in this team to the Chinese players. So good for that. You get rid of IDK, you get rid of Mika, you get rid of Coldest, who goes to the Valiant, and you get rid of Sumin Su, who looked good on Reaper last season, and that was pretty much it. Uh, so no big losses. I would say maybe Mika Coldest is the worst, but you're replacing them with Irony Super Rich, who had good showings, and I don't mind. I don't mind getting rid of your backline. Uh, I think it's all right. I do like Mika Coldest, but they didn't really get it. They didn't wow. They didn't get that much playtime either. So sure. Moving on to the coaching, they are getting, or they have rather, Seoul's old head coach as their new head coach in Chang'un. Uh, Seoul coaching maybe a little questionable last season. Gesture maybe on the Roadhog a little bit. Maybe Marvel on off tank, but I don't know. Maybe he was working with what he had. Maybe Gesture said, I am playing Roadhog or I am burning down the training facility. I do not know. Maybe. They also get Neko, who was on WGS Phoenix as their head coach, as an assistant. And they are getting Miro, who was the coach of Team Diamond, who was a team that made it up from the depths to contenders and did it not great, I believe. I don't know. I don't follow this team too much, but he's here now. So definitely some interesting fellas. I suspect he kind of got here because of Changun, maybe. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. No idea. So who do you lose for your coaching staff? You lose all of your assistant coaches because last season they promoted someone as an intern head coach. I don't know how the word. Uh, so they lose U4, Only Wish, and Zhao Gui. I don't know how to say it. My bad. But yeah, so I think you replace the coaching staff. I don't have a problem with that. You keep the players, you keep Shy, you keep the good players. Essentially, Architect's still here. He can have some. He can. I don't think Architect will get any play time. Maybe, but I have doubts. So my concerns is they have a large roster, which can be a great thing, it can also be a bad thing. If you end up switching around too much, it's hard to build synergy. We're seeing Boston have that problem. But assuming Architect rides the bench, which he should, I think, I can't see a problem with this team. Maybe they mess around with the tanks too much. It'll be interesting to see who they go with between Ligue and Bernard. Probably Bernard. Ligue's on the two-way. Shouldn't be too bad. And then the coaching is also maybe questionable because Seoul was not known for their coaching. They were known for a profit carrying and Fitz carrying, among others. So there's some concerns there. But for the strengths for this team, you have no concern about their DPS line. I wouldn't. Pineapple Alpha, I've already said it cannot underrate having another really good DPS with Shy. And Shy will be able to play better because less focus will be on him, and the team will just go crazy, I think. And they beat the racism allegations because there was at a point where they decided to bench Shy even because they just did not want to play their Chinese players. So it's looking good. I would maybe have some questions about Irony Super Rich because neither of them have any OWL experience, but those are the kind of risks you have to take. And it's not like they're I think they're kind of older. I think they're like 20s, 20, 21. So it's not like they can only play OWL now. They haven't gotten there until now. That can be a sign of like middle of the packing, middling. That's a good word. So there maybe is some concern there, but I think it'll be fine. They came from good orgs. It should be good. So they play Seoul, Shanghai, and Valiant right off the bat. So we're gonna see how good they are immediately going up against Seoul, going up against Shanghai. I'm excited for those games. I'm excited for this team. Do I think they'll do better than 7-9? I do. I really do. But some teams have to be mid in APAC, and this could be one of them, right? It's hard to say. Moving on to the Valiant. Let me check the time real quick. Oh, it's 17 minutes, and we're halfway through. Okay, get ready for the 40-minute banger. Okay, so moving on to the Valiant. We have the 016 won only 2 maps out of 50 minus 46 0-point LA Valiant to work on. And you know how they worked on them? They dropped every single member of the roster and they dropped all their coaches because that season was a wash, right? That season was gone. That season was not real. It cannot hurt you anymore. Because they pulled up, they get Dia, they get Innovation, they get Becky, they get Coldest, they get Lengsa, they get Ezhan, they get Sassin, and the Hacker. So big things coming. So I'll talk about where these guys come from. Dia, of course, he was on Shanghai for 3 seasons, I believe, and he was on Team CC until the end of January 2021. Innovation also comes from Team CC. I believe he coached for a bit too. Also a head scan player. Becky comes from Team Diamond. I don't know a lot about Becky, I will be honest. He is a flex DPS. Ezhan comes from Team CC, also a hit scan. They have 3 hit scan players. And then Hacker comes from Fantasy Gaming, and he is known for Sombra from what I see. So maybe some Sombra specialization coming in. So they have 3 hit scans. But I believe Dia can kind of flex a little bit. I'm not entirely sure. So it would seem that Becky is going to be your main flex DPS coming from Team Diamond. I don't know. I don't feel great about that, but I don't know anything about him. So maybe he is like a gem, an absolute gem. We don't know. I don't know, at least. Now, for support, you have Coldest, who, of course, was on the Spark and didn't get to play that much last season. But I think he's a really good player, and he had a lot of hype coming into last season. And he can definitely reach it here, I think. You have Lengsa from Team Chaser, their main support. So you can't go wrong if you're coming from Team CC or Team Chaser, IMO. Both great. But you have Sassin on tank. This guy has not played since season 3 when he was Spark's like flex player, but he started flex DPS, I think, and he turned off tank in the end, and he's their only tank. So I'm a little concerned. I'm not a little. I'm very concerned here. You only have one dude who hasn't played since season 3 of Overwatch League. Mm-mm-mm. Not sure. Not sure why they didn't decide to get another tank. If you're going to get 5 DPS, maybe drop that to 4. Maybe drop that to 4. Maybe you don't need 3 hit scans. Maybe you get a tank instead. I don't know. I'm not the general manager. So who do you lose? All your dudes. All of them. Crystal, Molan. Oh, come on, man. Crystal, Molanran. Uh, Nevermind. Snow, Shocheng. Silver 3, my goat, gone. Where are you at? And Hybe, all gone. Decimated. Reduced to ashes. Gone. That's all good. You could have kept Silver 3. Just for fun. You could have kept Silver 3, but no. Whatever. So who do they have for coaching? No Hill. It's No Hill season, boys. He was Team CC's coach slash advisor kind of thing. They have Huyal as an assistant coach who was on Team CC as a player. And you have Haru from the one winner who was Charge's contenders team. I don't know if they are anymore. Don't think so. But yeah. So coming from Team CC, can't go wrong. No Hill season, boys. He pondered for 12 hours straight compositions. He was sitting there in the chair, strapped in, scribbling down nothings. But he's coming in prepared. Let me tell you, No Hill season is real. So my concerns: you have Sasin. I've already talked about it enough. He's your only tank. Not sure. Not sure about this one. You have a lot of DPS players. You have a lot of hit scan players. I'm not sure the rotation. Hopefully, don't mess around too much. But you also have relatively unproven players. Most of them are rookies. Uh, that's okay, I think. But do they have the firepower to go pound for pound with the rest of the APAC region? I say no. I don't see it, especially in the tank category. And yeah, the DPS line looks good. Innovation, right? Really good. Dia coming through. But you're going up against Zest, MN3 on Philly, Lip Fleta, Prophet Fits. They're good, but are they better? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm a little concerned that they can go pound for pound. However, um, they can't do worse. So my strengths of this team: No Hill season, and coldest hopefully should surprise. And not surprise, but like cash in on his hype. He took a rain check last season on it. Hopefully he cashes in this season. Yeah, I think it should be good. So their schedule: they play Charge, they play Seoul, and they play Spark. Them against Charge, winnable. And I think they won't go 16 or however many games they're playing this season. I don't know the schedule completely, but they do better than 0 points and 2 map wins for sure. So improvement on last season. Great job. You love to see it. Moving on to the Philadelphia Fusion, the Chokers. Last season, I feel bad for Philly last season. The visa issues were not great, right? That was not good. They went 10-6 with plus 13 for 10 points. Should be improvable for sure. So, the roster. You get Carpe remaining there. OG, MN3, Zest, Aim God Fixa supports, and Fury Belosria. I don't know. Belostria. Is he Italian? I don't know. Oh, he's not Italian. Is it? Maybe. My bad. Maybe. Um. So yeah, you come in. You keep only Carpe. Everyone else is gone. So you're adding MN3 from T1. He's a hit scan player. You're adding Zest from also T1. He's a flex player, flex CPS. AimGod coming in from Team CC. Of course, he's been around the league. Uh, you have Fixa coming from Uprising Academy and WGS Phoenix as your main support. And then you have Fury returning from Washington and Belosrio coming from T1 as your main tank. So, what do you lose? You lose Mono. You lose Shockwave, who's now in Vancouver. You lose Toby to Seoul's head coach. You lose Rascal. He's now Dallas's assistant coach. You lose Poco. He's on London. You lose Funny Astros to the Gladiators. You lose EQO. You lose Hoppa to Toronto Defiant, and we all lose Alarm. Rest in peace. He will not be replaced. His shoes are far too large to fill. That sucks. So you have some good additions. You have some rough subtractions, and you get some coaching changes. So we have J1N as head coach. He was T1's head coach. You have Chara coming from T1 also, and you have Sungmin coming from O2 Blast. You lost 9K. You lost Christopher, and you lose Moby Dick. I don't know how upset you are. Uh, I think it's kind of rough that you replace your whole coaching staff because it's not their fault they lose. But maybe they saw it as like they could have come back. Maybe they see it as despite the issues, you could have powered through, and maybe they're right. So you can't hate them for the coaching change. All new roster, but my concerns is, I mean, it's rough, but my concern is Aim God. They've had Alarm carrying them, not carrying, but they've had Alarm putting in so much work every match for a long time now, and Alarm or Aim God is going to he's going to have his work cut out for him trying to fulfill that gap. And you also have the Philly second place culture as like it's a team identity at this point that they are not winners, and it's going to stay with them until they are winners. Really, Carpe is always going to remember. Uh, so there's that, and then you have to question: will your rookies live up to the hype? I think they will. You question that for every team, but I really have a lot of faith in MN3 and Jess. Carpe could be perma benched, and this team would be so good, right? Like when Carpe is on, he's like one of the best players in the league. But when he's not, he doesn't even need to be on. Like Carpe is not Fusion's WinCon anymore. You have MN3 and Zest. You have MN3. You're big chillin', right? You're good. Great roster. Looking forward to this team for sure. So your strengths are your insane rookies. I have high hopes for their coaching staff coming from T1, and you have pretty good flexibility across all roles. Fixa, he is a main support first and foremost, but he can go to the Baptiste, he can go to the Zenyatta. You have Fury, one of the best divas to touch the game maybe ever at his peak. You have he can play Zarya. Obviously, he can do it all. Belosria pulls up. I don't see a character these guys can't play. You have Carpe and then 3 Zest. They cover pretty much everything you could ask for at this point between them. I don't see a compositional flaw with this team. IMO. So who do they play this week? You play Shanghai and Charge. They should be expecting a win over Charge in Shanghai. Hopefully they're trying to make it close. But yeah, do I think they'll do better than 10-6? I think they should, but I can't say every team's going to do better because that's not how the game works. But I think they should. I think they can. Should they? 10-6 is not that bad of a record, but I can't see them being worse than last season. So I'm gonna say they're gonna be better. I think, yeah, I'll say they're gonna be better, but you can't say everyone's gonna be better. Which is why we are going to Seoul next, their second to last pick. Seoul last season, third place, 12-4 with 12 points for a plus 18 map differential. You're running Fitz, Prophet, Stalker on DPS with Creative, Vindame, and Smurf on tank. Your deductions, you lose Sabiobi, you lose Marvel, you lose Toyu, you lose Animo, you lose Gesture, and Jonak was supposed to join this team this season, but he's not because of back problems, I believe. So there's that. So where do you get these new guys from? Stalker, Genji Flex DPS, which is Seoul's contenders team. Smurf comes over from Shock, 2-time champion, absolute goat, and Vin Dame is from O2 Blast and is a main support. So, some questions have been solved on this roster, right? Stalker adds a triple threat now, I would say, before compared to having Sabiolbi riding the bench for no reason and collecting a paycheck. Actually adds something to their DPS line. Vin Dame should be significantly better than Animo, and Smurf is better than Gesture. It's not a competition, right? It's just not a competition. So you're upgrading across the board. I would say every like role pretty much. Uh, Kind of weird to me they brought in Jonak. I'm not sure entirely why. Could have been for name value. Could have been they wanted double flex support. Not sure. I feel like creative probably gets the start over him, but it's hard to say. Moving on to coaching, you add Toby from Philly, and you bring Wizard Young back as he was with Game Coach Academy. I've never heard of that. No idea what that is, but he was on Seoul the year before last, right? And you lose Changgun, who is now on Spark, right? Um, so my concerns here are Toby has no real coaching experience at all, I believe, and now he's just the head coach of the Seoul Dynasty. And he's with Wizard Young, who has coaching experience, but so he'll probably help him with that. But it's still going to be a question on like, can Toby bring this to coach this team to success, having not coached before? Uh, I it's so hard to say if a player is going to turn into a good coach. It's just not. You just don't know. I'd say Toby can probably, but I don't know. Uh, Moving on to one more weakness. I'm not sure about if you have to play Zarya. I don't know if Smurf has a Zarya on him. I can see it. His mechanics are great on Winston, but I'm not sure. I just haven't seen his off tank. Maybe he has played it. I wouldn't be surprised if he has, but as of right now, I have seen nothing inciting that he will for sure be able to carry the weight of being the only tank on this team. Uh, I have trust he can, but I don't have complete faith, right? I don't have complete faith that he's all they need. So there might be that, but Smurf is one of the best tanks, right? So you can't get much better. Moving on to strengths, Profit. You have Fitz, you have Stalker. Profit's always an MVP candidate. Fitz is always a little overshadowed by him, but is right there with him. You add Stalker, triple threat, and the most underrated thing about adding Stalker is it lets Profit be more flexible now. If that kind of makes sense. If you want to run, you can run double flex now, or you can run Profit. You don't want Profit hit scan as much as Fitz. Fitz is probably just as good or better. I'd say he's better than Profit on hit scan, right? But it lets you run the double flex, and it lets Profit have more freedom. I would say, if that makes sense. So I think that's underrated about this, and should just make their strategies more deadly. Uh, I expect Vin Dame to be solid heading into the league for sure, and I would say these are probably the best like roster players Seoul has ever had, ever, like as your starters. And that's partially because last season they had Toyu Marvel as off tanks, which definitely hurt them, and you had Animo, which definitely hurts them. But this looks like one of probably the best Solar roster, and that's a scary thought. So the schedule is Spark, Valiant, and Chengdu. Will they do better than 12-4? This is where I think they're. I said they had the best roster, but can they do better than 12-4? That's a hard record to beat, man. I don't know how many. I don't know how many games you play in the season. I didn't check beforehand. Uh, if it's 16 again, I don't think they do better than 12-4. I think they lose more than 4 games. Uh yeah. So despite them being better as a team, the region as a whole is better. So not everyone can get better, right? If I'm saying Charge is getting better, if I'm saying Valiant's getting better, if I'm saying Spark is getting better, I'm saying Philly is getting better, then by default, these teams have to do worse. They have to. So yeah, I don't think Seoul will do better than 12-4, but I think they will be a stronger team. But their record will not be better. You know what I mean? And coming up on the last team preview, I'll do my pick'ems and my brief power ranking after this. Should not take too long, I think. But we have Shanghai. Not a lot to go through here. 12-4 last season, plus 19 winning in maps, and with 20 points because they won countless week or division monthly titles, right? 5 stage titles. You have 2 of them. They took half of them last season, and in the championship, obviously, right? So what do you have? You have Fleta Lip, who are you as your DPS? You have Izayaki, Lee Jae-gon, and Bebe, the Smiler, coming in on support, and you have Void Fate for your tanks. So you've added Bebe from Washington, and you've lost Develop and Molly to the Charge, who are both riding the bench anyway. So no core roster changes here. For coaching, you're adding Pavane in, and you are deducting J Field to Chengdu and Dongsu. So only assistant coach changes, and you really aren't improving from last season. So the concern here would be if you're not improving, are other teams catching up to you? And I would say, yeah, they probably should be. But how do you improve Shanghai? Like, how could you look at that team last season and go, oh yeah, they need to do this and this to be better next season? That's just they, you can't. They've reached the ceiling. I think they've reached the ceiling. I don't know how you can make roster moves and make coaching moves to be better because you can't. Because Moon is top 3 coach in the league minimum, and all these players are world class. So that moves on to, do I think they get a 12-4 record? I can't. I can see them being the top, but I don't think they only lose 4 games. I think they can. I just think they can still be number 1, but I don't think they'll be as good on their record. Uh, so yeah, there's not a lot to say about strength. They're the reigning champs for a reason. And if it ain't broke, don't break it, right? If it ain't broke, don't break it. So this week they're only playing 2 games. They get Philly and Shanghai and Philly and Spark, and that's it for them. So nice quick one. So I will type in my pick'ems and show what I have. So I have Shanghai winning 3-2 on Fusion. I have Charge losing 3-2 on Valiant. And I have Spark or Charge winning 3-2 on Valiant. I have Spark beating Seoul 3-2. I think it'll be a close game. This is probably Spark fan bias. I will be honest. But you know what's not Spark fan bias? Uh, Me thinking they're beating Shanghai. Shanghai has consistently been a little slow at the start of a season or a stage, right? At the start of last season, they lost 3-0 to Chengdu. That's where they're, oh my god, Chengdu's the real deal, right? That's when we backed up. But I think it happens again. They might get a little complacent. They might be feeling out the meta maybe a little bit, and I think if Spark ever beats them, it's right now, right? Maybe. So I think this one maybe is Spark Copium. I don't think this one is, genuinely. Chengdu beating Charge 3-1. I have Seoul beating Valiant 3-1. And I have Philly beating Charge 3-1, Seoul beating Chengdu 3-1, and Spark beating Valiant 3-1, maybe 3-0. I don't know. The only ones that I can say for sure will be locked in will be these ones. With Shanghai Fusion. But like this first day is the only one locked in. These will change. I see this game, this one, these ones all change, right? So whenever I actually do this, these ones might not be the case. But heading in, this is what I have. This could be a 3-1, maybe. Yeah, I'll give him a 3-1 there. Changing on the fly. That's a 3-1. The rest are staying. Moving on to my power rankings, what I have. It's not that relevant. We have these 4 are probably any order you want. I have Chengdu in the Chengdu zone. bringing it back, and then you have Charge and Valiant at the bottom. I'm not entirely confident in Chengdu. I've said it before about the Jinmu situation, about Gaga, about Ball, but this is what I have. It's probably completely incorrect. I'll go back this like next week, and this I won't even take this into account probably whenever I make my one for next week. Like I'll just reset it. But yeah, so that's what I'm going with. Be mad, be happy. I don't care, right? So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video, this powerful 40 minutes. If you've tuned in this far, you're a real one. Uh, Thank you very much. I got the new mic. Hope it sounds good. If it doesn't, after this 40 minutes, that is truly unlucky. Anyway, like, subscribe. Have a good one, and deuces, man.